It's time for Myth of the Week.
All right, well, this one stems from the number one funniest question that's on the idiot exam. Like, if you're ever trying to test out some apprentices or journeymen or something that you're trying to hire, just ask them what color the green grounding screw has to be. And it's one of the funniest ones that we do a lot, but there is nothing in the code that requires the grounding screw to be green. There's only two instances in the code that require that it's required to be green, and that's when it's a main bonding jumper inside the panel board, and then if it's an actual device screw. And I know there's a lot of people that correctly identified that code reference for the device screw, and I don't know that anybody really identified the bonding jumper, but it was really funny that there was a lot of people that thought it was true, and then a lot of people, we always see these comments whenever I do the myth, which is why it is a myth, is they're like, oh, I just use my green Sharpie, you know? And it's like, well, there's nothing that says you have to do that, you know? And so it's really interesting. And then when you look at other examples of this, like if you go into like the panel board where the inside the panel board you have that bonding conductor, you have that bonding the bond bar, or you have the grounding bar. That is, then none of those screws are like there was people that actually said that there were green in some panel boards, like in Siemens panel boards and stuff. But I didn't even know that. I mean, most of the time I see them, they're silver. But there's really nothing in the code that requires it to be green. So this week's myth number, I think.
I didn't change it. I see that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, but this week's myth is number 100 is busted. So I just looked up the number. I'm like, okay, it's a number, but it's all good. Really awesome you putting these together, James. I'm sure you got some good slides on this.
yeah, it. I should have changed that. I was doing that Tuesday night, and I was trying to get all that done, and I'm working on laying out the new grounding book and everything in color, and I've just got so many things I'm working on at one time, and
Yeah.
trying to do a post here and there, to show everybody what we're doing and everything. But anyway, this is where you're talking about you have a grounded system, and it talks about the main bonding jumpers and system bonding jumpers. And basically what you want to get into, it talks about the different material, and it says that it can be a wire bus, screw, or similar suitable conductor. And then it says where main or bonding jumper, system bonding jumper, screw only, then it had to be identified with a green finish. This is where most people get the green finish from. Okay,
Yeah.
where you're using a screw only, and that is one of the things that they were arguing with me on. They were referencing 250-24A4, and I was like, for one, we actually have. I posted another illustration. We just didn't have it going up to the grounded neutral bar. It actually went to the cam. We had to fix that, but it's a new illustration, so we'll fix it. But the
Okay.
thing that is interesting about that is we wasn't talking about where it was just a screw only. We were showing in there where we had the terminal bars, and the terminal bars are all grounded right there in the panel board. So,
Right.
but we made a reference to it that if it was screw only, and we actually pointed it at one of the equipment grounding terminal bar, and they said, well, it has to be pointed at the grounded neutral. I don't agree with that. It can be pointed at either one of those because the whole system's bonded in. And
Right.
actually, when I looked at it, I asked Daz, hey, do you want to move this up here? He goes, no, there's nothing wrong with it. He goes, hell, we've been doing that since the 80s. And
Right.
and I said, sure you hadn't done it before then? He goes, no, it's been longer than that. But, when he looked at it and everything, he agreed the same thing. That green, if you just had a screw only, and that's what we're saying, we wasn't showing a screw only. So I don't even know
Right.
what they were arguing in the first place because all the terminal bars are bonded there. So,
Right.
I was like, well, I'm not even going to argue with you. I just told them we'll take a look at, but we don't agree with you basically. And then
Yeah,
as David,
and David had this one right away. 250.8.
that's right. And it's sort of like the same thing. Does the grounding electroconductor have to be green? You know
Right.
what I mean? No, it doesn't have to be green. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, there's nothing in there. The equipment grounding conductor does, and your equipment bonding jumpers, yeah, all that has to be green. And you go over and pick up 250.119 to get all that information. But that's another one that's a misconception. Now, I will say in our drawings, even our grounding electroconductors, we show in green because we want to, in our colored illustration, because we want to make sure it's all part of the grounding system. Okay.
True.
So we do show that. But right here, this gives you an exact uh, representation here of the permitted methods. And you'll notice here, it's not talking about anything having to be green. And
Right.
David is 100% correct on this. And
Of course he is.
and then when you come over and you look at some of the newer illustrations, we show 250.8 here, and
Right.
uh, we're just saying, we're pointing, saying the main bonding jumper is the can itself there, and I asked Dad, we're not changing it. We're pointing it right at the equipment grounding bar because we want to make sure everybody understands that all of that's bonded in together. And then the neutral, if you look at the panel board, you'll see we got a copper bar that's going across there that's connecting those two grounded neutral conductor terminal bars together. We're trying to tell you all this is bonded together. Okay.
Right.
And
I like how it looks like you're showing it sharing electrodes with the building steel. Is that true?
no, this is just going to a ground rod. Where
Okay. I thought that was some kind of steel. That's earth. Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got it.
And then we got another one here where we're just showing where you have 250.28A through D. I tied both of the sections in, and we're basically showing you where you have the equipment grounding conductors and neutrals. They're all coming here because they're all bonded here at the can. And you'll
Yeah, and
notice we
and
tell you if it's just a screw, it has to be what? Green in color. But we're
yeah,
not showing
temper.
screw, we're showing bus bars here.
Absolutely.
Okay. So these are a couple of I just threw these in because these are on the 2017, but they're new.
And
And
what
I
I
just want
want
everybody to see what they look like.
what I wanted to point out, go back to that last illustration real quick. It does show the neutral and the ground connecting through the enclosure. You could see it, that strap going across. That does connect both sides of the neutral.
Yeah, we
Because
even referenced there for the bus bar to go look at 4083C because you're there at a panel board. That's the enclosure. It's all grounded together right there.
true.
You create, how many times you heard me when somebody's asking me a grounding connection, I always said you always want to take everything back to where? One point.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
this is a good example. And this is just a basic illustration. I'm telling you, when you see the new grounding and all the new illustrations we've done, this looks pretty good. But some of these others that we have and the detail in it really is nice. They've done a really nice job on the new illustration. And
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, 250.109